Hey guys, and welcome to Filmartsy, your number one source for all things films and movies. My name is Elijah, and while we are huge fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the cast that we have in the MCU, honestly being a very great and well thought out cast, we always like to think and wonder what things would have been like had the MCU started more than a decade earlier than it initially did. What if the casting directors at Marvel were limited to just choosing from a pool of actors that were prominent throughout the 90s? Who would they go with? Which actors would they have picked to fulfill these famous roles? So today we're going to be making up a new team of Avengers based off of actors from the 90s and see which actor would play in which character and why we made these picks. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into it.
Agent Romanoff, you miss me?
Oh yeah, Charles, we got ourselves an X-Men fan.
Captain.
Your Highness.
Captain, big fan, SpiderMan. Hey everyone.
Starting things off, we wanted to take a look at Iron Man, as he was one of the most iconic characters in the MCU. Now, if you were limited to just actors who were really prominent in the 90s, while Robert Downey Jr. had a decent career already at this point, we think Kurt Russell would have maybe been one of the actors they would consider for this role, as he was pretty prominent already, and he could probably play into a lot of the attributes that this character has. Similarly, if we had to look for a character to play Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, we think that back in the 90s and early 2000s, Angelina Jolie was a very prominent actress and would probably be offered this role pretty early on, especially considering how iconic this character ends up becoming throughout the course of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Next up, when looking at the Incredible Hulk, this one was a little bit trickier because it has to be a character that can seem kind of calm at times and maybe not the most loud and rambunctious actor, but also someone who can kind of come across as harsh as well. And we thought Harrison Ford actually would be a really good fit for an actor to play Bruce Banner or the Incredible Hulk. We also thought Keanu Reeves would be a great actor when taking on the role of the Winter Soldier, putting together a somewhat decent lineup so far for the MCU of the 90s. We think Keanu Reeves would be a decent fit, and he kind of is similar to that of Sebastian Stan as far as just the way that in a lot of their portrayals in movies, it's more of a calm and refined character, so I think it would work really well with Keanu Reeves, plus he's a great actor. We also wanted to find some way to fit Arnold Schwarzenegger into the Marvel Cinematic Universe of the 90s, and actually I think it'd be really fun and clever if he played Ultron as one of the more villainous characters. We don't go into villains too much, but we just had to find a way to fit Arnold Schwarzenegger in this. Next, we wanted to find someone who'd be a really good fit for Captain America, but also an obvious fit and an obvious casting choice, and we kind of settled down with picking Brad Pitt to play Captain America. We just think this actor would probably be something that the casting team would maybe choose to take on this very important role, but also we thought that a actor that would probably be really good as the Falcon would probably be Will Smith. It just is kind of this comedic, wisecracking character who can really serve as both comic relief but also have good acting abilities, and we thought Will Smith can actually handle this job pretty well, and I think a lot of people would really like to see that. Next, we thought Tom Cruise would maybe be a interesting take if we were putting together a team for Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe he could be Peter Quill or Star-Lord. This one might be a little bit more of a stretch, but it's kind of this odd enough concept that I would really like to see happen, just because it's so out there, and I feel like if you put Tom Cruise in a role that's a little more out there, it might lead to a more interesting character and definitely a more interesting portrayal, and it's just kind of one of those things I wish we could maybe see one day, even though we probably won't ever actually get to see that. However, on the other hand, we think Bruce Willis would be really fun to see in the other side of the Guardians of the Galaxy, playing on the character Drax, just because not only do we think Bruce Willis would kind of be able to portray this character well enough, I think it'd be fun to just see some other moments and see what they would end up doing with this. With Guardians of the Galaxy in general, it always seems like the characters are a little bit more out there and it kind of works for them, so we would want to kind of see them do some interesting casting choices, especially if this was all taking place in the 90s. Looking into maybe picking another female actress for a lead female role, we think that for the character Captain Marvel, it's gonna have to be someone who is a pretty notable actress, but also someone who can kind of take on several different types of characters along the way. So we ended up choosing Sigourney Weaver as our pick for Captain Marvel, besides the fact that there is a resemblance if you look at Sigourney Weaver in the 90s and Brie Larson of today, but that's not why we made this decision. We just think that this actress would have the caliber of acting abilities to take on this role in a well enough way where these types of action movies would be really awesome to see on the big screen, especially if this is in the 90s. With that, we also think that Wesley Snipes would be an excellent choice for Black Panther, which was something we were trying to think who would be a good fit for this, and we landed on him. Next up, we're faced with the incredible difficult task of picking an actor for Spider-Man. Now for this one, there's been so many actors over the years who have already played Spider-Man, and honestly, so many actors who have done such a great job. Our thought process on this one was to maybe pick some actor that would show a version of Spider-Man we hadn't seen yet, was somewhat prominent in the 90s or had somewhat of a following back then, and was also, most importantly, someone who could portray the character well. And in this case, we actually ended up picking Michael J. Fox. He would have just finished up the Back to the Future trilogy of movies, and while this actor is a little bit older and would probably have to portray a bit of an older version of Spider-Man, we think that he really would nail the hammer on the head of portraying a character like Spider-Man who has the good comedic timing, but also isn't necessarily too much of a characterized actor where maybe the character role would be taken too seriously, and we think that this would just be a really fun pick that a lot of people would really appreciate getting to see. Next, we need a character who can take on the role of War Machine, and we're trying to think of someone who could be both funny but also maybe a character that was really big in the 90s and maybe defined the 90s, and we think a really interesting and fun pick for this easily could be Eddie Murphy. We wanted to get him in the MCU somehow, and I think this would be a great way to put him in one way or another. Then we were faced with another problem where we had to pick an actor who would play the big and iconic role of Thor, and then we remembered Fabio existed, and this one's probably not the best pick on this list, but it's just something that is so great, too great to pass up, and Fabio is going to be on this list for Thor. But while we're at it, we also wanted to find someone of a comedic actor who could maybe play the role of Ant-Man. This one was a little bit tricky because we thought of a lot of great actors who could probably take on this role and do it justice. Names like Ben Stiller came up, but we ended up ultimately landing on Adam Sandler, not necessarily for the dynamic between the team of the Avengers, but we think a standalone Ant-Man film starring Adam Sandler honestly sounds like the perfect example of how a movie like this would work in the 90s. I think we can all visualize it well, so we went ahead and picked him. And while Ben Stiller is a pretty funny actor, we also think he can land some serious roles as well. So we're gonna go ahead and put Ben Stiller as Hawkeye in our lineup for the MCU. Next, we needed someone to headline the role of the Scarlet Witch, and for this one, we went ahead and chose Drew Barrymore as our pick here. And finally, to tie up our Marvel Cinematic Universe of the 90s, we went ahead and chose Robert De Niro as our pick to play Thanos, the ultimate villain of the MCU that everyone would be facing off against. So what did you guys think of our MCU lineup if this was the 90s? If you like this video, hit the like button. Maybe we'll cover other decades, and also leave a comment down below with what list or what team you would choose and how you would cast your team, or if you would make changes to our team. Let us know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on for more videos like this, and we'll see you all next time with a brand new video. Bye guys.
Talking.
I'm about to.
Hi everybody.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Hi.
See you guys.
Know anybody?